Hello everybody, this is Rip, the icon of backyard wrestling and the icon of the WLW. Now I'm coming here for my first ever episode of Operation Icon, brought to you of course by the WLW. Now make sure to visit us and friend us or like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/WLW Wrestling, or check us out on YouTube. Honestly, I could give you the thing. It's youtube.com/users/WestLP Wrestling, but just type in WLW Wrestling, click search, you'll see it. Check us out on YouTube, check us out on Facebook. Now ladies and gentlemen, this is my first episode of Operation Icon, where basically Rip is going to go in and dissect and destroy and review and whatever you want to call it, different wrestling events, different wrestling matches, movies, TV shows, whatever I'm in the mood to dissect and destroy will be on Operation Icon. My first victim will be Vince McMahon and his resurrection of ECW in 2006. Let me start off right now by saying I want to love wrestling right now. I do. Daniel Bryan's the world champion. CM Punk is the WWE champion. You have these indie guys who don't look like the typical norm world champions who are going in there and they're the world champions. I want to love it. But here's the problem. Vince has destroyed my faith in him and his writers and everyone else that I don't even care anymore. Like, I will watch SmackDown. I will watch Raw here and there. I mean, I'm even trying to, I want to try and watch for this Funkasaurus that I hear so much about on The Shining Wizards. By the way, visit The Shining Wizards. I was a guest on the show. Their shows are hilarious. They're talking about wrestling. It's wrestling talk and talk about wrestling. There you go. Check it out. There's a shirt. Boom! Shining Wizards. Wrestling talk, talk about wrestling. They're on facebook.com/Shining Wizards. But, I want to like this Funkasaurus they've been talking about. But because of what Vince has done in the past, I can't. Prime example, Operation Icon, Episode 1, ECW on Sci-Fi, and their first episode. Okay, now, the episode of ECW on Sci-Fi started off optimistic, in my opinion. They had the 2 one-night stands, which obviously that doesn't make any sense. So we will be calling the second one Second Night Stand. So I had no problems with those pay-per-views. Honestly, those 2 pay-per-views are probably the best 2 pay-per-views of the last 15 years. If you go, I mean, go back and watch them. Think about what you've watched the past, whatever. TNA Bound for Glory, Hogan versus Sting. Are you kidding me? What is this, 1998? Like, are we all real? Triple H versus Kevin Nash? I mean, honestly, can these guys just get the F out of here? I'm trying not to swear, but I'm getting a little riled up, okay? Okay, so ECW on Sci-Fi, they had the Second Night Stand, and if you look back at it, it has my favorite John Cena match ever. Now, I don't like any John Cena match. John Cena is the most worthless piece of trash. They shove him down your throat so much that that's another reason that I don't watch wrestling anymore. Bottom line, okay? That crowd at ECW Second Night Stand ripped him apart. It was fun to watch John Cena. It was fun to enjoy watching him hear what I wanted to say to him. Okay? The chants, perfect. The throwing the shirt back, perfect. Okay? RVD beating him and becoming champion, perfect. Okay? Now look at the other aspects of the pay-per-view. Boom, here's my first picture. That is one of the sickest spots I've ever seen in my life. Sabu off the chair, off the ropes, DDT through a table that was balancing between the ring and the barricades to Rey Mysterio. That match was incredible. Now, do I think it should have just ended in a stalemate? No. But God, that match I enjoy watching every time. Foley and Edge versus Dreamer and Funk. Watch that match again, people. Seriously, if you have to pause this and go watch that real quick, Second Night Stand wasn't bad. So ECW on Sci-Fi opens up with video package of ECW Second Night Stand. And now obviously they don't show you all the spots. It's, you know, they'll show you quick and pause. Like, here, boom, here's Foley on fire. Here's, I think it's, what is it, Funk with a barbed wire bat that's flaming. It let in optimistic. I was pretty pumped, okay? So the first minute of ECW on Sci-Fi, I was ready for it, okay? Then in the second minute, or whatever after that, they go back to Raw, which reminded me that on Raw you find out that who's going to be on ECW? None other than John Cena. And John Cena's quoted in this little video package on Raw of being like, I'm going to go invade ECW, and he says, I like that. I like that. Honestly, John Cena, if this wasn't WWE ECW, you wouldn't even get in the arena without somebody ripping one of your eyes out. Honestly. If you were down at the ECW on Rittner and you tried to walk into that building, I mean, wouldn't even have to worry about what New Jack or Axel or Ian Rotten would do to you. Okay? Straw Hat Guy would have ripped your eye out. Okay? So that's that. Okay, so the first actual thing that happens live on the event is Paul Heyman comes out in the new entranceway and everything. Now, they're not fooling anybody. Now, maybe they fooled some people, but basically what they did is they took a SmackDown crowd, a SmackDown arena, moved the camera around, and gave them the little ECW entranceway. But once again, we're in a SmackDown arena. We're with WWE fans, okay? So you're not going to get the reactions you're supposed to get on ECW. So Heyman enters the ring, and he introduces the new WWE champion with the spinning belt, RVD. So RVD and Paul Heyman are in the ring, and Paul Heyman has his little sack in his hand, and Paul Heyman has decided that he is going to crown, as he said before, RVD the new ECW champion. Now, I will tell you right now that when he opened that bag and he pulled out that belt, and I remember live sitting there going, if that is not an ECW heavyweight title, like the old ECW heavyweight title, what I was picturing is, do you remember what they turned it into? Okay, I've only seen pictures because at that point I had given up. That silver piece of crap that Matt Hardy carried around, that's what I was expecting right away. Okay? Then he turned it around. Boom! Paul Heyman presents RVD with the new ECW belt because Vince McMahon's head once again is so big he could not have someone, God forbid, throw down the WWE title. But RVD at that point should have chucked down that stupid spinning belt and been like, I am the new ECW heavyweight champion. I was WWE champion. Figure something else out. Instead of it being a third tier brand, that would have made it like, oh, this is competition. This is exciting. Okay? Now, I don't even think if Vince McMahon would have, God forbid, had a little bit of brains, and granted, I mean, think about it. The NWO story angle. He had shit for brains. The WCW story angle, shit for brains. ECW story angle, shit for brains. Vince McMahon has lost it. Okay, so he hands RVD the new ECW heavyweight title in front of a SmackDown crowd. You hear a few flutterings of truck it down, throw it down for the WWE belt, but he decides to keep them both. Edge comes in with Lita. I have no problem with this. Edge, as an ECW fan, as a backyard wrestling fan, as an indie wrestling fan, as a real wrestling fan, I respect Edge, and all real wrestling fans do for what he's done in the ring and for the business. But he comes in very respectful of Paul Heyman and RVD, yada yada yada, but of course you know he's going to turn. He turns, kicks RVD, I believe, or spears RVD, and then him and Lita escape over the barricades through the crowd as I'm sure I think Joey Styles and Taz, who, God, I hated hearing Joey Styles commentate some of these ECW shows. I mean, what not a way to commentate for Joey Styles, having someone in his ear telling him what to say. But, so he leaves through the crowd, and Joey Styles and Taz, oh, he doesn't want to go through the locker room. Of course he doesn't want to go through the locker room. So he leaves going through the crowd, and who does he run into who's standing behind him? That's right, John Cena. Terrific. John Cena ruins ECW within the first 10 minutes. They have this whole, like, fight between the three of them where, basically it's basically them just punching on Edge, and like RVD will push Cena and kick Edge, And then Cena will push RVD and start punching and kicking Edge. And at one point, and I guarantee you this was sarcastic, John Cena is throwing one of his million punches because he has no moves. He throws a punch and Joey Styles almost in like, and oh my God, goes, what a punch! And I mean, I personally want to believe that he was being a little facetious and sarcastic with that comment. But, so basically that's the opening to ECW on Sci-Fi. We've gotten maybe 10 minutes of absolutely zero wrestling before the first commercial break of ECW on Sci-Fi. Okay, so we come back from commercial break and we come backstage to see one of the most ridiculous ECW promos I've ever seen in my life. Paul Heyman's backstage with all the ECW originals, and he's vowing to bring the fight to Raw because John Cena apparently invaded ECW. So he's apparently riling up the troops and being like, you know what we're going to do? And then Balls Mahoney and Stevie Richards and Al Snow are overacting the shit out of it. What are we going to do, Paul? What are we going to do, Paul? You find out that ECW is now taking the fight to WWE and going to Raw. Great. Great news, who cares? Once again, another thing I don't care about. Once again, another crappy-ass promo backstage with a bunch of bad acting. It's terrible, and at the end, the most sacrilege, they start chanting for themselves. ECW, ECW. That was one of the things of WWE ECW that I hated the most. The fact that the wrestlers chanted for themselves. Like, who does that? Who? Like, honestly, I'm done. I'm done with that. Okay, so then we get our first match ever on ECW on Sci-Fi ever. Our first ever match. Now this is, remember people, this is supposed to draw people in. And this is what we get. That's right, we get a zombie. We get a zombie who slowly moves to the ring, okay, gets in the ring, and then decides he wants to cut a promo. So he takes the mic from the ring announcer and starts, and he does that a few times, okay? He decides to cut a promo. By the way, I sure hope this is a lifelong jobber like the Brawler or someone, because if you now go around the world as the guy known as the Zombie from ECW, please, please, please Mike Awesome yourself. Like, seriously. I am just blown away that this even happened, okay? So, as the Zombie's cutting his promo, Sandman's music hits, okay? Now, kudos to anyone in the back who allowed Sandman not only to come out and drink beer, but then bust himself open, old school style, and then basically, I mean, there were points where he couldn't even stand. So please watch this on YouTube after this. It looked like he couldn't even stand on the barricade. So I'm thinking Sandman was wasted before he even got to the ring with this zombie guy. There's even this shot of him coming around the ring where he looked so friggin' pissed off that he has to wrestle him. So he gets in the ring, and 15 seconds later, 9 Singapore cane shots, and a white Russian leg sweep, Sandman defeats the zombie. We've gone 15-20 minutes into the first ECW on Sci-Fi, and we've gotten 15 seconds of wrestling. We had an in-ring promo that ended up with John Cena. Great, thanks Vince. Then we got a backstage promo where the guy ECW originals chant for themselves. Then we get a Sandman squash, 15-second squash. Now keep in mind that they had Tony Mamaluke on the roster. They had Roadkill. They had Danny Doring. You're telling me Doring couldn't have gone out there and maybe let Sandman cane him a few times, make it maybe 25-second match? Something? No. Let's create the zombie because, ladies and gentlemen, remember, we're on Sci-Fi. I just want to point that out. So, after Sandman beats the zombie back to the dressing room with the Singapore cane, we finally get something new on ECW on Sci-Fi that I can deal with. We get Kelly. Now, Kelly, they show her, and the only words out of her mouth, and the first words out of her mouth are, "My name is Kelly, and I'm an exhibitionist." Now, honestly, what else would I want Kelly to be? She can't act, she can't talk, and later on we find out that she can't dance. Yeah, she can't dance either. And so, I mean, what other hobby would I want her to have? I guess, being an exhibitionist. I mean, I'm fine with that. So that actually gave me something to look forward to later in the night. But of course then, after we get the terrible Sandman match, not Sandman, I'm not blaming Sandman. Then we get the Kelly backstage promo, another commercial. Okay, so we come back from commercial break. You think you're going to get some wrestling, because once again, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a wrestling program, and so far we've gotten about 15 seconds of actual wrestling. 25 seconds of, no, 15 seconds of actual wrestling. But we're about to make it 25, because what do they do when they come back from commercial break? They go to the Jerry Lawler Taz match from the night before at Second Night Stand, where Taz walks to the ring, survive if I let you, okay? Taz walking to the ring, and I don't even know who he's talking about, you know, survive if I let you. I don't know if he's talking to Lawler or a pork chop, because when he's walking to the ring, you could tell there's not going to be a wrestling match. He's fat, he's out of shape, he looks disgusting, he can barely fit into his Taz baseball jersey. Then Lawler comes to the ring. The only little pop of that is that he walks over to Joey Styles and legitimately like slaps him in the face. So that was cool. He walks to the ring, Styles follows, Styles jumps on his back, Lawler flips him over, sets him up for the pile driver, Taz catches him in the Taz mission, and then Lawler goes out. That's that. Okay? So they do the entrances that take 2 or 3 minutes and all this other garbage to show another 10 seconds of actual wrestling action. Okay? So at this point, halfway through, we've gotten 25 seconds of actual wrestling action on ECW on Sci-Fi. So I know that that's to thank you, Vince, for that. And another thing is you couldn't think of anything else. You had all these people on the roster. You have all these wrestlers, and instead of putting another ECW match on and letting 2 guys go out there and prove themselves, you throw on a shitty-ass match from the night before that everyone saw and no one wants to see again because it takes 2 seconds and all it is entrances. Just like the Sandman Zombie match. So we get 2 Sandman Zombie matches till we finally get to a match where I think, shit, we might actually see some wrestling. Just Incredible versus Kurt Angle. Now, Kurt Angle's the new face of ECW. Just Incredible, old face, hardcore legend, Just Incredible, okay? Hardcore icon. You think you'll get a good, at least 6.5 minute match of some wrestling and, you know, whatever. No, you get a 1 minute and 45 second route where the only offense Just Incredible gets is right here. You want to know what that was a picture of? It was a picture of a goddamn push, okay? Other than that, Angle gets on top of him and punches the shit out of him. And the only part in the match that's all worth watching is at one point they get up, go face to face, and Angle straight headbutts him in the head. Straight headbutt. BAM! That I liked. That was cool. That was the closest at this point in the show that I got to an oh my god. So at this point now, we're well halfway through ECW on Sci-Fi, and we've got a little over 2 minutes of actual wrestling action. Okay, so we get back from yet another commercial with a total of 2 minutes of, a little over 2 minutes of actual wrestling action, and you think between now and the next commercial break that we would get some wrestling? Well, if you thought we would, you'd be wrong. Because basically here's what happens. We come back from commercial, and Paul Heyman is by himself backstage doing his Paul Heyman at the camera. You want to get extreme? I'll show you what extreme is. By the way, during this promo, he says extreme 7 times, okay? So he announces that he's throwing everything out. Oh, I'm throwing everything I had planned out tonight. Which basically means that in the script that Vince McMahon wrote for him, it says, at this point you tell the crowd that you're throwing everything out, and then we go on with this plan. But even though it's already all written down, he says that tonight there will be an extreme battle royal. An ECW extreme battle royal. The winner gets to go to Vengeance to fight John Cena. Great. Who cares? Another ECW feud that's going to bring in John Cena? Terrific. Okay? Now the best part about this whole promo isn't that Paul Heyman tries to make it sound like, oh, this is going to be exciting. It's not that he says extreme 7 times just to make you understand that this is supposed to be ECW. The best part was they cut back to the live shot now of Taz and Joey Styles standing there, and I'm going to read this quote straight. Cuts back and Taz says, Oh my God, Joey! All weapons legal? Battle Royal? Are you kidding me? I've never seen that! And here's the shot. Now, keep in mind, Taz and Joey Styles had to sell this like it was new, like they'd never seen weapons in a match. That was Extreme Rules. And had more than 2 competitors. Taz sitting there in that picture, oh, are you kidding me? I was absolutely sick to my stomach watching them trying to shill this show. This show was disastrous, okay? So now, after you hear Joey Styles and Taz talking about garbage that doesn't matter and shilling a product that sucks, you go backstage and you get to see Kelly again. Only this time, she's bent over. And this time she reveals that she's going to come out and do a little dance badly, do a little dance for you, and she's going to take off all of her clothes. Commercial break. Okay, so we come back from commercial break, and you're expecting Kelly to take her clothes off. But they're outside the arena in the typical WWE shot of the arena saying, WWE sold out. And if the zombie wasn't enough of a reminder that we're watching ECW on Sci-Fi, there is a friggin' vampire standing outside looking at the ECW sign, sold out, ECW tonight. He turns to the camera, shows his fangs, hisses. But my question is, why is the vampire just chilling outside staring at the sold out sign? And they actually did that for a few weeks, where Kevin Thorne is standing outside just staring at the sign. The only thing that was good about Kevin Thorne is when he got into the ring, he actually was kind of able to go. He had the cool finisher that Randy Orton ended up stealing, and he had Ariel, who was a pretty hot-looking goth chick. Taz, once again, has to show the product. Once again, direct throat quote from Taz, that couldn't be a, that's not a, Meanwhile, Joey's going, no. But they didn't want to say the word vampire, clearly a vampire. And they had to sit there and sell it like, that couldn't be. That's not a possibility. Imagine if they would have just waited a few years till Twilight came out. Kevin Thorne would have been a huge hit. Huge hit. And so would Ariel. She would have had a job longer than a month. Okay, so after you see Kevin Thorne outside staring at the sign like an idiot, we come back and a match, no, not a match, a recap of what happened with RVD, Edge, and John Cena earlier in the evening. So between the recap of One Night Stand at the beginning, then the recap of the Jerry Lawler Taz match, and now the recap of what happened, almost a recap of a recap, we've gone 3/4 of the way through the show with still only 2 minutes of actual wrestling. After we get a recap of John Cena and Edge showing John Cena's face as much as humanly possible on ECW or WWE television, we get Kelly's expose. So Kelly comes out of the ECW entrance and to her little Kelly's expose stage. I had no problem with this. This part of the was the only part that I actually, when they announced it, I looked forward to it. The Extreme Battle Royal, I knew it was going to happen. Great. With this, I didn't know it was going to happen. Now, I knew she wasn't going to get naked on Sci-Fi. But hey, I enjoyed it. So let's take a look. Here's a great shot. Or we could look at this one. Or this one. Or this one. Now the funniest part about all this is that about halfway through, when she finally gets to her bra, to unstrap her bra, it is the most awkward moment on television. I swear to God, once again, please YouTube this. She sits there for, I'd say, about 30 seconds trying to unhook her bra to the point where she's trying to unhook. It's not working. She's still moving her hips. She bends over, sluttily enough, bends over, still trying to unhook it, shaking her ass. And then after 30 seconds, finally decides, I can't get it unstrapped, so I'm just going to lift, okay? 30 seconds may not sound that long, but seriously, take a minute and take 30 seconds and count 30 seconds of television time, okay? And the whole time, Taz and Joey Styles don't help out at all. They just sit there being like, But either way, she gets her bra up, and she covers up her nipples, and I have shots of that too. Check it out. Or this one. Not that bad of a segment. Then, after the segment ends, once again, Taz comes out with his third gem of the night and says, and once again I have to read this because it's so ridiculous that it has to be read. He says, "You know what I like, Joe? The new ECW. I think it's going to be better than the old ECW." Taz, seriously? What in the world made you even think to say that? I don't care if Vince McMahon was in my ear telling me to say that. I would have found a different way to word it. After you watched a girl strip, you didn't say a word, and then you used that as your selling point to claim that this ECW is going to be better than the old ECW because a girl got naked? Hello? Francine, Beulah, Woman, Lita, I mean, all of them's tops came off. All of them got, I mean, you tell me when you're going to see Kelly get pile driven off of the top rope to the outside through a table. There's no other Queen of Extreme aside from Francine. Big whoop, a girl took her clothes off. It was good, but no way does that tell me that it's going to be better than the old ECW. Taz, you jerk off. So we finally get to the Extreme Battle Royal. Participants: Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, a commercial break. Then we get back from commercial break, and Danny Doring and Roadkill already in the ring. I guess they didn't have music for him or something like that. Then Stevie Richards, Little Guido, Mama Luke, and the FBI. Oh, a Trinity comes out with them, which is key. I mean, Trinity's new, and she's pretty much half naked. So that made me immediately think that this was going to be better than the old ECW. Then Balls Mahoney, Big Show comes out, and you have your Extreme Battle Royal. Now, this was a mess to start with. Every single sign in there was as flimsy as could be. Nothing old ECW. It was a complete mess. Now, before they go to another commercial break, because they went to the commercial break in the middle of the entrances, in the first 5 minutes of the match, it's basically just Big Show throwing everybody around. Okay? People come up to him like they're going to do something, he throws them. Oh, you're going to do something? Throw him. Nobody, Big Show does not, no-sells every single person who comes up to him, okay? Then you get another commercial break. Okay, you come back from commercial break, and Sabu is now setting up that table. There's a bunch of these weak-ass sign shots, terrible garbage, it's just terrible. It's a mess. And Extreme Rules, Joey, I can't believe this. There's at one point, there's like 5 guys with signs and trash cans attacking Big Show. And he's literally just standing there going, everybody gone. Then, of course, since it's a battle royal, people have to get eliminated, right? Usually, it's people eliminating people until there's left with 2 people. No, that's not how it is. First, Al Snow goes out, Big Show eliminates him. Danny Doring goes out, Big Show eliminates him. Stevie Richards goes out, Big Show eliminates him. Roadkill goes out, Big Show eliminates him. Not only that, then you have Big Show versus Balls Mahoney. They meet in the middle of the ring, and Show does a terrible, I guess headlock choke slam onto a garbage can, barely gets Balls off the ground. Now that could be Balls' fault, maybe he didn't jump high enough, but I mean, Big Show is like 7-something. He should have been able to pick up Balls Mahoney and choke slam him, okay? So then Balls goes out, Big Show eliminates him. Then Tommy Dreamer attacks Big Show with a sign, just constantly wailing on him. Now granted, he was hitting him hard, but once again, these are these flimsy, basically terrible-ass tinfoil signs. Then he eliminates Tommy Dreamer. Then the FBI gets involved. And the FBI, for some reason, is still involved in this match. And at ECW Second Night Stand, you think Big Guido and Big Show are going to have like some sort of standoff, and they do. The last 3 people. Big Show, Big Show, Big Guido, and Sabu. Okay? You finally get the showdown between Big Guido and Big Show. Within 2 seconds, Big Show grabs him, tosses him over the top rope, and then what happens is Guido goes over, holds on to Big Show, and Sabu comes out with a chair, hits Big Show in the back, Big Show goes over, Sabu wins. Great. So there you have it. There's ECW on Sci-Fi. an Extreme Battle Royal. And can you believe it? They allowed street signs. This is going to be better than the old ECW. Okay? This really is. Luckily, Sabu won, which was, I did not expect. I honestly expect Big Show to eliminate every single person, which he did, except for Sabu. So now Sabu gets to go on to fight John Cena at Vengeance. Great. So now I get to watch one of my favorite wrestlers, Sabu, who can wrestle, who can be hardcore, who can do whatever he wants in that ring, fight John Cena and job. Basically job to John Cena, who could do 3 moves. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. ECW on Sci-Fi. Out of 10 stars, out of 10 icons, I give it a -30. I mean, let's be honest, this was an abomination. They ruined the ECW name. Vince, you should be embarrassed of yourself. And you know what? I'm almost sure that Vince McMahon was sitting back in his goddamn office being like, well, if I can't do it my way, I'll destroy it myself. Basically like an old NWO storyline where Ric Flair wanted to destroy WWE, even though he really didn't. That wasn't really part of the storyline. And Vince says his famous catchphrase, if anyone's going to destroy my creation, it's going to be me and the NWO. Well, that was basically the deal I got with ECW on Sci-Fi. He was like, I'm going to do it my way, and if I destroy it, who cares about all those wrestlers who spent years giving that company a name? Who cares about all the fans who have been diehard for that company since like 1994? Okay? He didn't give a crap. He ruined ECW. He should be ashamed of himself. Shane and Stephanie should be ashamed of themselves. Linda should be ashamed of themselves. John Laurinaitis should be ashamed of himself. Anybody who had anything to do with WWECW should be ashamed of themselves for the golden egg they were given and just literally squashed it in what I feel is completely on purpose. So Vince McMahon, I give you 2 thumbs down. I give the ECW, WWECW 2 thumbs down. And everything that you've done since, 2 thumbs down. And I will be amazed if somehow you pull me back into watching your programming. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, tune into WLW, Facebook.com/WLW Wrestling, YouTube.com/user/WestLP Wrestling. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you want more info on wrestling, if you want to hear guests, some indie wrestlers, some true fans' perspective on wrestling that's very similar to my own, where they're just so friggin' tired of Vince McMahon, so tired of that piece of shit John Cena, listen to the Shining Wizards Wrestling Podcast. When I was on, it was in the top 100 of new and noteworthy on iTunes. It's probably still there. Go to iTunes, search Shining Wizards, you'll get it, or go to Facebook.com/Shining Wizards. So ladies and gentlemen, for all the guys at the WLW, and of course me, Rip, the icon of backyard wrestling, thank you for watching my first ever episode of Operation Icon and me shitting all over WWECW. Vince McMahon, go to hell. John Cena, go to hell. That's all I have to say. See you next episode. You know me. I would slit John Cena's throat if I could. Right here, right now, in Philly. I would go do it at the arena. I would probably sell out the place. I'd get more people than Hardcore Homecoming. Why did Randy Savage have to die? You know? That's what I'm saying. Why? God's going to take Randy Savage? I would give him, honestly, I would trade him, Randy Savage, for John Cena any day of the week. And Randy Orton. How about, I would give you John Cena, Randy Orton, and Jack Swagger for 1 Chris Candido.